Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We generally do a couple of webinars a month. Some of them are deep dives into particular bits of functionality. Sometimes they're new version overview, the features of a new version. We did one of those last week, introducing version 10.0. And today we're going to do a webinar about using the new page builder. But before we get started with that, I want to take care of a little bit of housekeeping. All of the phones and microphones are muted. So any questions should be entered into the chat window. And at the end of the demo, we will revisit some of those questions and see if there were anything that was not covered during the demonstration. And this is particularly useful for those people watching this as a recording. And all of our webinars and our tutorials are recorded, and they are all available on the ClubExpress Cool Stuff page. So if you go to clubexpress.com and click on Cool Stuff, and then on the left-hand side, you click on the Webinars tab, you'll see a list of our upcoming webinars, and you'll see the list of recorded recent webinars. And above the Webinars tab on the left, there's a Video Tutorials tab. And the reason I'm pointing that out in particular right now is that about a week ago, we published 4 new tutorials that were all about the changes in version 10. And so today, we're going to be doing this deep dive onto the page builder itself, but there are a couple of companion videos that you should watch. Number one, you should watch the using the page builder video, because in 22 minutes, it's very focused on the kinds of things I'm going to be talking about today. But in addition to that, we've got one on managing custom pages and managing the home page. And that's got to do with managing the versions and the things you can do, how to copy pages and things like that. And so those are very useful. And there's this new one on managing people that shows how to use the People Manager and the People Lookup tools. So take a look at those. And even after today's webinar, you should also look at the tutorial, because the tutorial's got some very, very focused examples. Now, all of our videos are actually stored on YouTube. So if you're watching them on YouTube, you can click on the subscribe button and optionally on the notify button, the bell icon, so that you can be notified every time there's new content. And finally, if you're using ClubExpress, and particularly if ClubExpress is working really well for you, we'd love for you to go to clubexpress.com/reviews, click on one of these review sites, and leave a review so other people who are evaluating association management solutions can have the benefit of how it's working for your organization. So let's talk about the page builder. ClubExpress has been around for 15, 16, I don't know how many years. And we recently changed the way pages are built and edited. Now, pages in ClubExpress can be a lot of different kinds of pages. You've got your home page, you've got custom pages, and those are things that you as an administrator control the content on. But there are a lot of other pages, like event pages or calendars or profile pages or member interest. Those are all modules within the system that what's being displayed on those pages are displayed based on what you or your members have put into them. So you don't have to build an event calendar page, because there is an event calendar module that surfaces all of your events in exactly the way you need them surfaced. But things like the home page, which is sort of the front door to your site, and very often the first impression that someone will get of your organization, and custom pages, which are used for you to make web pages that have information that's not necessarily just covered by the existing modules, like the document module or whatever. And so these are new tools right now that are covering the way you create and manage pages for both the custom pages and for the home page. This may be extended to other areas in the future, but at the moment, this is where this sits, because it's the most used features. So the page builder is the way you actually create and edit content. So it determines what the user can see and when. And there's a new system, totally new system, called the versioning system. And this is a way to track and modify versions of pages. You can create temporary versions. You can edit them later. Every time you save and edit, a new version is created. Now, when we did the version 10 features demo last week, one of the questions was, well, what about my existing pages? What about my custom pages? What about my home page? What am I going to do? I've got all this time and effort invested. Well, you don't have to do anything. If you do nothing to the pages, they'll appear the way they always have. So the main changes are not to the pages, but to the tools you use to build and edit those pages. And if you have existing pages, which most people do, they can be edited in the new page builder. And so let's talk about that for a moment, and then I'll show it to you. Whether it be the home page or web pages, when an existing custom page is converted, meaning it's edited for this first time, it becomes a single row in the editor. And because the new editor is row and cell based, and I'll explain that in a moment. Existing rows and columns are outlined and editable using a thing called the Insert Advanced Editor, and we'll take a look at that. However, you can't currently add new rows or columns using this editor. You'd have to use new rows and columns and such, be using the new tools. And the old legacy content is editable using the advanced editor. So there are really no real changes except on how the editor is accessed. So on an existing web page, it'll be converted to one row with these outlined areas for what used to be page rows. The home page, on the other hand, used to have a little different editor, and that had different rows that you could make different rows visible to different audiences. You can make something visible to everyone, or something visible only to members, or something visible to people that are not members, like a Join Now button. When that gets converted, it gets converted into individual rows in the new editor, and each row has the permissions that the homepage row used to have. And new rows and columns are added using the new page builder tool. So let's talk about what I'm going to try to demonstrate today. I'm going to show you about editing existing pages. Then we're going to look at the custom page manager and take a look at a couple of the icons for versions, view, preview, etc. Then most of what I'm going to talk about today is the page builder. I'm going to attempt to build and publish a page very quickly, maybe even put it on the menu. I'm going to give you an overview of the page builder canvas, take a look at the page preview, look at the page builder toolbar, row templates, the tools for rows and visibility, the tools for cells and widgets, and then we'll touch on page versions and scheduling them for deletion. So there's a lot here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our demo club. I've got two different browsers here. I'm going to go to our demo club, and this is our typical club that we use for most of our demonstrations. It's not the one I'm going to be using for most of today's demonstration, but this is a site that's been out there for like 15 years. And if I'm currently logged in as an administrator, and if I want to edit this page, one of the differences between editing a custom page versus editing the home page is that the home page is really one page. And so when you want to edit, it brings you into the version manager. So here's home page that was converted. And you'll see that in the past couple of days, we've saved a couple of versions and all of that. But originally it just came in with version 1 and version 2, because we had a mobile page and a main page. But if I take a look at this, and if I come in here into the active home page, this is going to bring us directly into the page builder, because what I was in was the version manager for the home page. And you'll see that this was brought in. There was a row here that was set to public visibility. That's what these two icons mean. And then below it, there was another one that's not available to anybody. And so if I were to click on this and edit it, you will see that we have this dotted line around this first row here. And then there was this dotted line around this second row, which is about recent blogs and weather feed. And so that was all the content that was available to the public. So that was a row in the old homepage manager. And so this other one down here, the advanced content editor, you'll see that this was an HTML widget that was entered. So in a homepage, you'll actually get a row for each one of the homepage rows that you had. But in a normal custom page, you'll get one row with these outlined areas. If I come over here, say to a really complicated page, say if we go to this one here, this is the one that I had in the tutorials. If I click on this and go into the advanced content editor, you'll see that this area here, this got a dotted line around it. This was a page row. This was a page row. This was a page row. So these are broken down into individual page rows. And that's the way that these were converted. So let's forget the current demo site and let's go over to our training site. And so this one here makes it pretty obvious that this one has different permissions depending on whether or not you're logged in. So if I'm not logged in, this first widget here would say join now. But now we're putting in a row that says this is special just for members, and this gives them a link to a ballot. If I were to edit this, you will see that there are different versions here, and we'll look at the versions in a minute. But if I were to edit this, you see that this is set, this visibility is set to public only, so they get the join today button. We get a similar row that's only for members, and they get the board election ballot. We've got this one over here that's for everybody, regardless of whether or not they're logged in. And we've got ones down here that's not visible to anybody. These are things that the administrators are trying to decide whether or not they want to show, or in this particular case, might be when do you want to show this? Because we can take this row and decide when it should become visible. So on February 1st, 2021, we want this row to be visible to everyone. So we've extended the kinds of things that we had in the home page, making things visible or not visible. Now you can do that on any custom page, and you can set a date and time that a row, its visibility changes. So you could have something that becomes visible on a particular date, and then you can say, okay, a month from now, I want to take it down, and it will happen automatically. So that's very, very nice. If I look at the control panel and look at custom pages, I want to just take a look at a couple of the icons here in the custom page manager. If I look at the, it's called the board elections. If I click on edit, it will edit the main version. It'll open the page builder in the main version. If I click on the versions icon, it will open up the versions for this page. And you'll see that we have a couple of versions, and each one of the versions can be renamed. So there was some version 1's already gone because it was flagged for deletion. If I look at this one here and I say, oh, this page here from August, I don't need it anymore. I don't need to keep this version. I can click on it. In fact, I'm going to get rid of version 4. And if I click on this, it says, are you sure you want to delete it? But it's not really deleting it now. It is scheduling it for deletion. So now you'll see it's been scheduled for deletion 30 days from today. And I can unschedule it. I can put it back anytime I want. And you'll see that there are up to 2 active versions. One is the custom page, and one is the mobile custom page. And I'll show you that in another one in a moment. But if you go to edit, you will be editing whichever version you click on, whether it is active or not active. And so let's go right into the page builder by me going back to the custom page manager, and let's add a custom page. Let's add a new page. So I'm going to call this one new page demo. I'm very clever with the naming of my pages. I'm going to put this into the training category, and I'm going to make it active. And the visibility for the page, I'm going to set to any website visitor. You can make it members only or admins only or any website visitor, recognizing that different rows in the page can have different visibilities. This is who can access the page. So if I save this, and the only reason I'm naming it a new page demo is just so it floats to the top of the list. And if I click on the edit main version, since there is no main version yet, it'll just open in the page builder. So let's just do that. So it's showing me that I'm in the custom page edit. The name is a new page demo. The version is called a new page demo. It's version number 1, and it is not active. So I'm going to just very quickly create a page, and I'm going to go to the row templates, and I can drag either individual rows, a full width row, 50-50 row, whatever, or I can go here to the combinations. And so I'm going to drag from here. So I'm going to grab over here a half image with half text, and I'll grab another one here that is events and newsfeed. And I could drag these around. I could reorder them this way so that we have this one on top and this one on the bottom, but I like this one on top. And now, the first thing you do when you create a new row is you determine what the visibility is, because the default for the visibility is that it's hidden. So don't be surprised if you drag a bunch of rows and then you go to look at the page as a user, you can't see it because you didn't allow people to see it. So I can either click here to go to public only, members only, or everyone, or I could open up the row visibility, because now that I've clicked on a row, the row tools tabs open. And so I can change it here, which also changes the icon. So let's just say that this is available for everyone. And let's make this row here available only to members. And now we need to configure what's in these rows. The rows on the bottom I'm going to leave alone, because there are certain defaults as to how many events, what's the time period for the events. And every time I click on a cell, the cell tools, the actions and the styles will open that are relevant to that cell. I can close it, the cell tools, by either clicking on the double arrows here or just click on the cell tools again. And similarly, when I click on this one here, now it's the recent articles widget. But I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to come here and click on this cell, which is an image. You'll see at the top of this, it says image. I'm going to change the image. It's going to allow me to pick from either my web graphics or photos. In this case, I'm just going to grab this one from web graphics. And it will, and I choose save, and it will put it into the cell. And I can click on it, and I can make this larger or smaller here, which you'll notice changes the width and the height in the actions pane of the cell tool. So it's real-time changes here. And now, if I come over to this one, which is a formatted text widget, I can edit the formatted text. And let's get rid of this. And I've got some text. Let's come over here. I grabbed this from another widget, so I don't have to start from scratch. So I've just pasted some text, but I want this text here to be a heading 1. I want this text here to be a heading 2, and this will pick up the styles from my website. I'm going to make this a heading 2. I want these here to be bulleted. And that's enough for the time being. So using this new editor allows me to put in content very quickly. And we can come over here, we'll make this a little bigger. And at this point, I can either save and continue, or I can save and exit, or I can save and make active and exit. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to save, make active, and exit. So this now becomes an active page. And if I look at the versions for this, you'll see that there is only one new version. It was created by me, Martin Smith, at this date and time. And I can preview the page. I can do all sorts of things. But actually, let me go back to the page manager and simply view the page. Because over here, you'll see that it says view the main version. And so here is the page, and I could put this page on the menu. And because I'm logged in at the moment, I get to see both rows. This second row is displaying only because I am logged in. If I was not logged in, I would only see the first row, because that's the one that we said was available to everyone. So That's how quickly you can get a page up. If I go back to custom pages and I go into versions, I can, actually, we'll leave this one alone. What I wanted to do is show you mobile versions and such. There is no mobile version at the moment. And a mobile version is a page that only displays on mobile devices. So if I wanted, I could say create a mobile version, and it'll, since there's only one version out there, it'll base it on my current version. And so if I want, I can just go into page rows here, coming over here. Let's make this available to everyone. And let's put a text in it and say something like, this is for mobile devices only. And we'll make it big, and we'll make it red. And now if I save that, I'm going to make this active, but this is the mobile device. And when we go back to this, you'll see that we have an active mobile homepage, a custom page, and an active main page. So you can have up to 2 active pages. If I look at this page in the previewer, you'll see that it defaults to a mobile device, and we've got this is for mobile devices, like that. So that's the idea about having a mobile version of the page and a desktop version of the page. Now, you don't need to make mobile versions of pages because all of your pages will be mobile responsive, meaning if I look at the main custom page and I preview this, if I preview, say this is previewing for a desktop, if I preview over here for mobile devices, you'll see that everything wraps appropriately. All the cells wrap and do what a good responsive design should do. So that's just giving you an idea of just how quickly we can get a page up and running from scratch. Just before I jump into the page builder, Samantha, do we have any particular questions that need to be answered before I jump into the page builder?
No, a lot of questions about editing text and changing font size and using the text editors. One question that just came through, does mobile responsiveness go away with the new editor? Why would you want a separate mobile page?
There may be pages that you want that doesn't necessarily reformat the page, but may want to show different information. You may want to show that you're on a mobile device. Now you're assuming that somebody is connected remotely, and maybe you want to have links to a chat function or something like that. In general, you don't need separate mobile pages, but if you do want them, it is supported. And very often it's for people with, low bandwidth and people that have limited data plans, and they want to make their mobile page very, very sparse, and maybe their desktop pages very verbose. And so that's the reason for this. So I have a page here called the Page Builder Demo. And if I come into versions, you'll see that I've got a bunch of different versions here. I have named each one of these versions. And you can name a version just by coming in here to the configuration icon, and you could just change the version name, because version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4 isn't all that useful when you've got a couple of people that are collaborating on a page. You may have people that are approving pages. You may have people that are going in and editing pages. So you could say, oh, I want you to go to version number 4, and that is the holiday season version, because maybe you want to have some rows that really only appear during certain times of the year. Maybe you have a holiday party or something like that, or a major springtime event, and you want to simply say, oh, we're going to show this version of the page at this time, and then we'll just go edit the data for this year's version of our holiday party, maybe changing the venue or something like that. So you can store these versions, and if you don't want the version, you can schedule it for deletion, like these 2 down here are scheduled for deletion, and they're going to be deleted. It looks like they must have been deleted, scheduled for deletion last week, and they will actually be deleted unless you change it 30 days from the time you schedule them for deletion. But Meanwhile, let's go right into the page builder. So I'm going to go into the main page builder demo, and I'm going to go into edit. And what we have here is we have a thing called a canvas. And the canvas includes some buttons that I showed you before: save new version and continue, save new version and exit, make active and exit. There's that preview, which will let you preview this page. And when you preview the page, it lets you, it opens in a new tab, first of all, so you don't leave your editing session. And you can pick what kind of device you want to show it on. And you can decide what view you want, whether it be how the public will view it, meaning how people that are not logged in will view it, how members will view it, or how the admins will view it. Admins say, I don't care about visibility. I want to see all the rows, all the widgets, and all of that. So you can come in here and see what it looks like, see how your pages are laying out, see how your photos are resizing and things like that, and what they would look like on different devices. So I'm going to close this tab. There are similar buttons at the bottom of the page: save new version, continue, exit, and cancel. At the top of the page, by the way, you can drag this page tools widget out of the way. You can cancel here, and you can maximize. So if you don't want to see all this stuff up here, you can click on maximize, and it gives you just a larger version of the content window, at which point you can click on restore, and then you can work from there. And a really big page like this, there's advantages to having these buttons at the top and the bottom, because when you're working way down at the bottom, you don't have to scroll all the way up to the top of the page to say, I just want to save a new version and continue. When I work on pages, whether they be documents or webinars or tutorials or whatever, I am one of these save early, save often guys. I do save as this document -A, this document -B, this document -C, because I want to be able to go back to previous versions, because if I mess something up, I want to go back to something that was working and that looked right. So for me, I do a lot of save new version and continue. And then later on, when I know I don't need those versions anymore, I will get rid of those interim versions. So let's take a look at the page builder toolbar here. The page tools let you rename this version. So you could just change the name of this version to whatever you want. So it could be approved version, it could be Joe's test version, that doesn't matter. Row templates, as you saw before, will let you drag either a full width row or any number of different configurations here. So if I wanted something that was 50% column followed by 225% columns, now we have that a 50% column and 225% columns. And I could put whatever kind of widget I want into that. I could click on widgets here and say, oh, I want an image in this one here. And it says this is an image placeholder. And I can come over here and say, I want text in this one here. And this is a text placeholder. And so that's a little different than me going into row templates and taking a pre-configured widget, like I showed you earlier, where this one, say, was, instead of doing 3 columns, I could do 3 columns with images. And it will put in the 3 columns and actually stub out some temporary images. So this can get you very often a lot of the way there, because rather than saying I want 3 columns and now I need to place 3 image widgets, well, this is pretty useful. Or an image with text and another image to have some placeholder text in the middle. To get rid of one of these, you can click on it and choose delete row and confirm it. Same thing here. Let's get rid of this one here and delete row. Or I could say, well, this one here, when I've clicked on it and I'm looking at the row tools, because I'm now clicking on a row and you see there's a blue highlight around the row, I can change the row's visibility, as I showed you before, or I can change its future visibility, where you put in a date and a time. Let's make this 2021 at 8 a.m. And I want to have this thing hidden. And that at that date and time, it will be hidden. It'll just automatically not display for anybody anymore. I can set it to no future visibility. Doesn't mean that it won't be visible. It means there is no setting. There's nothing to change. That's what no future visibility means, not that it's hidden. So that's pretty easy. Now, when you're looking at a row, it gives you information about the row. You can also do things like well, these are the actions. You can move it down. You can copy a row, which just makes a duplicate. You can delete a row, and you saw the visibility options. You can also change the row style. I could come over here and say this text. Oh, actually, this one won't do that. There are other ones I'll show you later on that do that. You can change the style for the row, maybe the background color and things like that. When you click on a row, you get the row tools. When you click on a cell, you get the cell tools. And the cell tools are specific to the type of cell, the widget that's within the cell. So let's talk about the cell tools. In these tools, you can do certain actions. Now, if it's a text widget, you can edit either using plain text or formatted text or the advanced text editor. If you insert just plain text, you can edit with any of these editors. If you start inserting formatted text, you can edit the formatted text editor or the advanced editor. And if you insert with the advanced editor, you can only insert with the advanced editor. So if I come over here, I can edit with the plain text editor, which is just straight editor here. I can edit it with the formatted text editor, which is that new editor, where you could come over here and make things bold and change the color and make them italic and underlined and all that kind of stuff. So it's a basic editor, basic rich text editor. You can make numbers and bullets and all this kind of things. You can change the indenting and outdenting. You can pick justification. You can use the link builder to say, oh, I want a link to a particular photo album, and pick the photo album and put in the link. You can put in a picture, and this will go to your web graphics. And so I can put in this picture here, and I can resize the picture. I can do, basic editing here. And if I save it, it will show up in that first widget. But now when I go to edit it, it's saying, okay, now I can no longer edit it in the regular text editor, because last time I edited it was in the formatted text editor, but I could edit it here or in the advanced editor. If I go into the advanced editor, we get, in effect, what the old editor was, with all of these tools across the top, except now we don't have a little toolbar for inserting rows. But this will let you do things like insert tables, with a table builder. You can use a table wizard and build tables and do whatever you would normally do. And we've got a video about the advanced content editor that you can view. But this lets you do all of the advanced stuff. And I'm going to cancel that. So when it comes down to editing text, you've got a lot of control over this stuff. Not only about just text, but text combined with graphics. So if I use something like this one here, this is what's called image with caption. So here you choose an image and then you insert the text. So it's going to insert whatever text you enter below the picture. So I can come over here and I can remove the image and pick a different image. And let's pick this one here. And now, on some of them, in order to actually see the changes, you click on Apply Changes. And so now we've got that graphic with whatever the text was underneath it. If I want to edit the text, we go Joe Gavel. If I save that, again, it says, click on Apply Changes to see the changes here. And now we have Joe Gavel. So being able to combine images with text has never been easier. And we have this one here that used to be called a hero banner. And this is, I'm just going to move this over to this side. This is text over background. And over here, you can decide what the image is. We can remove it. We can also decide the image height. So if I want this to be 200 and I apply changes, you will see that that will get shorter. And that's useful when you want to make, say, the whole row shorter. Now, things like upcoming events and blog feed, when you click on the item itself, don't click into the item, because these are live links. This will take you to that event. So I'm just going to click on the, I can either click on the cell itself here. Well, that did the whole row. If I click onto the cell here in the border area, now it's letting me change the title, because it'll say upcoming events. I can decide how many days out I want to look, whether or not I want to include all categories or select, one or more categories. So you can decide, and you can have multiple upcoming events. You could have, say, here are our rides and here are our board meetings and things like that. You can have them as separate widgets on the same page. That's perfectly fine. Same thing with blogs. A news article will let you show the contents of an article. The news feed shows recent articles within a particular time period, kind of like events. So you can see, once you learn how to do one of these, you sort of learn how to do most of them. Something like renewing members. This one is a new and renewed members widget. And so you can say, I want either new members or the ones that have just renewed, and what's the time period you want. You can change the font size. You could decide that you want it to be Courier, and we apply changes. And now we've got Courier here. I mean, you've got a lot of capability, some of which may not be all that interesting. Let's see what happens if I do this one here. If I go, let's go background color. Let's make it FF 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I've just changed the style of this, the background style, to red. And of course, I could have used a color picker here and select the color, like that color there, and change it. So you can apply styles to cells. They may be overridden by the content in the cells. For example, if you look at one down here, say for submenus, you can't change the color of these submenus, because the color of these submenus are always going to be the same as the color in your theme for your site. So it'll pick up this color. So you can't override that color. It'll always look the way you have your menus. So the key here is to play with this. Create some pages on your site. You don't have to make them active. You don't have to let anybody else see them. But you can start playing with this, including doing things like accordion widgets, where you can add and remove panels that people can expand or contract. And we have instructions on how to do things in the using the page builder tutorial. It shows how to use each one of these widgets, what the configuration options are. One of the really cool things that was done, though, is for those of you that are used to using the advanced content editor, the advanced content editor has an HTML mode. If I come back over here and I look in the advanced content editor, you've got the interactive designer, and then you've got the HTML mode. So this will look at the code for the HTML. I don't recommend using that now, because we have a much nicer tool. And that is, when you insert a widget down at the bottom here, we have an HTML widget. So this one over here is an HTML widget. So if I insert or edit the HTML here, you'll see, number one, there are line numbers, which is lovely for people that are writing code. You can open and close logical areas. So this is a div, and When you click on it, it highlights where the closing div is. So if you click over here, you see it's highlighting. It's a little hard to see. See if I bring it a little bigger. You see this little a box around it, so you can see where the starting and closing tags are, which is very nice. The same thing with style. It does automatic code beautification, so you get the coloring and the indenting and the line numbers automatically. So if you're writing HTML code, by all means use the HTML widget because it's really nice. It's got some nice HTML editing tools. On any one of these, you could change the element type. So if I click over here, I can change the element type, and you can pick from this list here. Or you could simply say, oh, I want this one here to be a weather widget. And it asks, are you sure you want to replace it? And I'll say, yeah, I want to replace that. And so now it's asking me for where the weather widget should be from. It picks up your club's location, and now it has the information for the weather widget. Now, I want to just go very briefly out of the page builder and show you the version manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cancel this. I don't want to save any of the things I changed, but I could just save a new version and exit without making the new version active. That's different than saying save it to a new version, make it active, and exit. So I'm just going to cancel everything here. We'll wind up doing another tutorial on the version managers and the page managers, because here I just want to go over some of the icons in the version builder. You could edit it. You could preview it. If it's a mobile version, you could preview it strictly as mobile. You could decide that I no longer want to have this as an active mobile version. So I have this version here that says this is the mobile only version of the page. I can come back, and if I take off the mobile version, then it won't display on mobile versions just because it'll display the main custom page as opposed to the main mobile custom page. Again, I go through this rather slowly and in detail in the 3 videos. We have one for managing the home page, one is managing custom pages, and one is using the page builder. But it's important to know what some of these things do. The other thing that's really kind of cool is if I come over here to the page manager and I want to make a copy of a page, if I want to copy the page builder demo, if I click on copy, you get the typical copy function, which says, okay, what's the new name for your page? And then if there's more than one version, you can say, okay, what version do you want? And it shows you the ones that are active and what the other versions that are available. So what do you want for your desktop version? So if I say I want to copy off of the active version, and the mobile version, maybe I want to go from that proof of concept, I can do this and it will make a new page with those 2 versions. So if I save this here, it says, we already have something here. Let's call this A1. Whoops. Let's call this A1. We'll call this A1. It didn't like the idea that we had something with that name already there. And if I save it, it will actually go out. We have this A1 page builder demo. And if I look at the versions, you will see that there are 2 versions and they're both active now. So it just grabbed whichever ones I wanted for the main version and the mobile version. We're running short on time. Samantha, do we have any questions?
No, we've had a lot of questions. One of the things that some people just kind of want a little bit of a refresher was what existing custom pages are going to look like when they go in to edit those for the first time, if they choose to do so.
Yeah, if you go into edit, let me see if I can go to that other site. When you go to an existing custom page, the home page will have a row for each row that was in your home page. The custom page will have one widget, one row called Advanced Editor. And when you edit it, what you will have are these areas, these dotted lines for what were your page rows before. You cannot insert or remove page rows. I mean, you could highlight it and remove content, but you get this one area where the what were page rows before, whether it be a single row or a 33% row, or here you've got 25, 25, and 50%. This is what it looks like. So you'll be put into the advanced content editor, and the only thing that's different between now and before is that you don't have this floating row toolbar that lets you insert and delete rows. What I would typically do if I needed to make substantial changes is I would probably just copy a bunch of this stuff to a clipboard, create new page builder rows, and rebuild everything. But that's if you want to make changes. If you don't need to make changes, nothing changes. In fact, the version is not actually created until you attempt to go into the editor. So if I click on, say, any one of these things here, I don't know, that's called Club Flying Newsletter. If I go into the version editor here, you'll see that it says these are the converted mobile version, converted custom page, and it's got today's date and time, because these two versions were actually just created because I wanted to go in and mess with them. But unless you go in to make a change or even to look at the version, there is no version created yet. So nothing has changed on your site. So it's actually very, very straightforward. And you'll find that managing your existing pages is we've just changed the tool that you use to manage it. And if you were used to using the advanced content editor before, you'll still be using the advanced content editor, except it's in one big row rather than these nice new page rows where you can change the visibility and the style and things like that on each row. Samantha?
I think that kind of covers most of our questions. There were just a lot of questions about individual widgets, which we have listed in our help system and in all of our tutorial videos so that people can get a little preview of how they use each widget and how you add it and edit the widgets, and a lot of questions again about just creating or managing existing pages, which we've gone over.
Anything else, Samantha?
Let's see, it used to be that doing a mobile version is $200 and restricted to members only who had to download the app to see it. Has this changed? I think that Ty is referencing the mobile app.
Yeah.
So the mobile app is still available. Your website's being mobile friendly. That's a question that a lot of people had. All of your website pages are still mobile friendly. All of the content on your pages, whether you create it yourself using a custom page or whether it's a page that belongs to a module, those are all still going to be mobile friendly. But as Alan had mentioned, you might want to just display different content for mobile users, maybe just a different photo, maybe different bullet points, different links, but you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that it very often is confusing, and we did a webinar on it about the mobile app. The mobile app and the mobile website are two different things. The mobile website, the mobile version or mobile main page or mobile custom page is when you go into your browser on your mobile device. You're in Safari or Chrome or whatever, and it's just the way you would view a typical page on your site. You could say, I want mobile viewers to view a different version of that page. The mobile app is quite different. You're not going into it with Safari. You're going into it with the Northwest Balloon Club app that people could download from the App Store or the Google Play Store. And it's a custom branded app, which actually surfaces your pages, but it also adds some other functions like real-time chat and meetup functionality. But that's different than how do I want my web page to display on a mobile device? And that's what the mobile web pages are about. So you can take a look at the ClubExpress mobile app tutorial video, and we did a webinar on it, which shows exactly why you might want to enable that. Thank you all for coming. I hope you found it informative, and we will see you for the next webinar, which will be next Wednesday. And Samantha is going to be giving you an overview of the People Manager. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you at the next webinar.